Be careful of the warm smiles you welcome in. Not all of them belong to a friend. Some are just masks worn by shadows you once thought you knew. There's a moment of awakening when those nearest to you start to show their true colors. Not with what they say, but with the vibe they carry, their subtle moves, and how your own spirit instinctively recoils when they step into your space. Don't write this off as fantasy. It's a battle for your soul, dressed up as coffee dates and family dinners. You've sensed it. That dense energy, the conversations that leave you hollow, the baffling wave of dread after you've been near them. This isn't merely about dealing with difficult personalities. It can be an indication of something far more predatory. If you've ever thought, why do I feel so depleted every time I'm with this person? Then this truth is already knocking on your door. We're not discussing hauntings, but presences that operate through people. Presences that distort, tangle, and dismantle your inner world from the inside. Today, let's uncover 10 undeniable signals for identifying these hidden influences in your circle before they steal more than your calm. There are individuals in your orbit who can weaken you without uttering a threat or doing you any obvious wrong. Simply sharing a room with them feels like your own life force is being siphoned away, and you can't pinpoint the cause. You enter the room feeling centered, even joyful, but after some time in their company, your inner battery is drained. Your optimism plummets, and your inner peace is shattered. You might even try to rationalize it, telling yourself they're just going through a tough time or that you're just being dramatic. Yet, in your core, your soul is screaming that something is deeply wrong. These are the types who rarely contribute to your well-being but are constantly withdrawing from your emotional bank account. They need your focus, your validation, your empathy, your vitality. The conversation is always a vortex of their emergencies, their conflicts, their turmoil. Before you know it, you've become the landfill for all their negativity without ever agreeing to it. They unload their burdens onto you and walk away lighter, leaving you to manage the mess. But this isn't just about emotional fatigue. It is a spiritual drain. Your eyes may not see it, but your spirit feels the assault. You're dealing with someone who wears a familiar mask, but a darker entity hides behind it, feeding on your inner flame. This is spiritual predation, and often they are completely oblivious to their own actions. That, however, does not diminish the harm they cause. It's time to stop wondering if you are overly sensitive and begin asking why your soul sounds an alarm bell around them. That feeling of unease is a sacred signal. Your energy is your most valuable asset, and not just anyone should have a claim to it. Begin observing how you feel following every encounter. Are you lifted or weighed down? Inspired or worried? Complete or empty? Shadows don't always materialize with sharp teeth and glowing eyes. More often, they greet you with a charming smile, speak in measured tones, and call you their own. But if every meeting leaves you feeling more estranged from your calm, your calling, or your core strength, it's time to see it for what it is: spiritual sabotage. You don't have to confront them, debate them, or attempt to save them. Your only job is to turn and walk away, reclaiming your own power. Your spirit has already seen the truth your mind is fighting to ignore. Not everyone in your circle is nurturing your soul. Some are actively consuming it. Defend your peace. Protect your energy. Your entire being depends on it. They poison the well of truth to set you against others. Quietly, cleverly, and with deadly precision. It's like a shadow that silently infects your bonds until they suffocate. These individuals avoid direct falsehoods, which are too easy to spot. Instead, they warp perceptions just enough to plant a seed of uncertainty in your thoughts and suspicion in your spirit. They masterfully use partial truths, remarks taken out of context, and emotionally loaded anecdotes that cast a negative light on others, while they pose as the innocent bystander or the deeply concerned ally. Their primary tool is insinuation. I'm not trying to cause trouble, however, or maybe you should just watch them. Their intentions don't feel pure. These small phrases are engineered to chip away at your foundations of trust. separating you from those who genuinely have your back and positioning themselves as your one true confidant. And the moment you start to isolate from your spiritual protectors, you are left exposed, reliant, and far simpler to control. This is the playbook of these dark presences. They don't engage in open warfare, but thrive in silent chaos. They agitate a situation just enough to get an emotional rise out of people, and then lean back, feigning innocence as the drama plays out. They understand that by undermining your support network, your friends, your family, your sense of clarity, they can hijack your view of the world. You'll start to doubt the motives of genuine people, embrace fabrications as reality, and unknowingly adopt their toxic worldview as your own. That's a spiritual assault disguised as a friendly chat. And the scariest element, these people often project intense loyalty, even affection. They swear they're on your side, just keeping it real. But what they're actually doing is injecting a spiritual venom between you and everything that keeps you grounded. You will start to feel a rising sense of paranoia, questioning connections that once felt secure, and a general heaviness in your life until you realize one person is the constant factor in all these fractured relationships. That's no accident. It's a deliberate attack. These dark influences don't shout. They whisper. They confuse. They charm. And they sever. When someone constantly creates division but offers no healing, perpetually points out the faults in everyone else but never admits to their own, you must see it clearly. They are not trying to shield you. They are trying to possess you by isolating you. Once you are alone, they have won. It's time to wake up. Guard your connections and, most importantly, shield your mind from the deceptions that come dressed as love. They find comfort in your failures and are threatened by your victories. If you aren't looking closely, you'll mistake their predatory concern for genuine compassion. These are the people who offer the most fervent praise when you're at your lowest, yet fall disturbingly quiet the moment you begin to recover. They flock to your side to offer support when you're at your nadir, when your heart is in pieces, and when all your dreams seem to have crumbled. But the second you start to rise, find your footing, and walk with renewed purpose, their whole demeanor changes. All at once, they become aloof, critical, condescending, or even openly bitter. The reason? Your comeback challenges their own feeling of importance. Your renewed power puts a spotlight on their stagnation. As long as you are down, they get to feel significant, needed, and even superior. But when you reclaim your power, they are reminded of their own smallness. They prefer you reliant, not self-sufficient, confused, not confident. And there lies the chilling reality. They don't cherish you. They cherish the version of you that props up their ego. They adore the defeated you because that you is no threat. They are attached to the version of you that questions your own value and looks to them for validation, keeping you in a state of emotional subservience. But when you establish new standards, put yourself first, aim higher, and align with your purpose, their resentment becomes impossible to conceal. They might mask their envy with biting jokes, mocking your new goals, labeling your growth as inauthentic, or dismissing your aspirations as fantasy. They'll utter things like, "Don't lose touch with who you used to be," not as a loving caution, but as a subtle command to shrink yourself back to a size that they can handle. In their heart of hearts, they cannot stand to see you succeed unless your success still places you beneath them. This is how you confirm you are contending with a parasitic spirit, not just a person. A spirit that is terrified of light, that feasts on self-doubt, and that applauds collapse as long as it ensures you remain tethered to them. You must observe how people react, not just to your moments of pain, but to your moments of healing. Anyone who seems more drawn to your wounds than your wholeness is not a friend. They are a spiritual hazard. A dark influence won't always try to break you with fury. Sometimes it will attempt to break you with false comfort. But being comfortable in your brokenness is not affection, it is a cage. Stop mistaking their pity for partnership. Focus on those who champion your power, not just those who console your pain. Because authentic love is never afraid of your greatness. It's the fuel that makes it burn brighter. They continuously violate your limits, not from a lack of understanding, but from a belief that your rules simply do not concern them. These are the individuals who hear your no and treat it as the starting point of a debate. You request personal space, and they suffocate it. You explain you are unavailable, and they insist on your time. You establish a clear boundary, and they view it as an exciting new obstacle to overcome. This is not a failure to communicate. It is a spiritual violation. When an individual persistently ignores the lines you have drawn to guard your inner peace, your schedule, or your emotional reserves, they are telling you a profound truth about themselves. They do not honor your right to self-govern. They only honor their ability to access you. And access without respect is pure theft. These people move with a spirit of entitlement. They believe they have a right to your schedule, your focus, your empathy, and your emotional energy, even after you've explicitly stated that your well is running dry. They often frame their trespasses as care or worry, but the underlying motive is always power. Your personal boundaries terrify those who wish to have influence over you. You cannot be controlled if you cannot be reached. So they nudge and push, bit by bit, challenging your commitment, expecting you to eventually surrender as you may have in the past. They employ guilt to make you question your own right to defend your well-being. You will hear things like, "You seem different," or "You're pulling away," when all you've really done is refuse to let them take what isn't theirs to have. And this is the magic of boundaries. They don't just safeguard your tranquility, they reveal everyone who never truly valued it. Anyone who meets your limits with rage, passive-aggressive behavior, or the silent treatment is showing you that their bond with you was always about their convenience, not a shared respect. When you try to claim your spiritual and emotional freedom, they take it as a personal insult, because to them, your worth is defined by your accessibility. But you must hear this: you owe no one constant, unlimited access to your being, especially not those who will step on your spirit to get what they desire. Demonic influence doesn't always arrive with a roar. Sometimes it shows up with relentless persistence. It weakens you not through overt aggression, but through the steady erosion of your boundaries until saying no feels impossible. But your peace is your sanctuary. Your time is a precious gift. Your presence is an honor, not a given. Begin treating access to you like the honor it is. Your gates are sacred. Those who relentlessly try to force them open are not visitors, they are invaders. Protect your kingdom. They mirror you only to later sabotage you. It's a calculated attack disguised as admiration, but engineered for destruction. These are the people who analyze every facet of you. Your way of speaking, your daily rhythms, your personal aesthetic, the very energy you radiate, and start to replicate it with such precision that you first mistake it for a deep connection. They adopt your laugh, use your slang, emulate your style, and even take on your core beliefs and passions. You might even find yourself thinking, "It's incredible how much we have in common." But in reality, something far more predatory is at work. They are creating a carbon copy of you, not to celebrate you, but to impersonate you and ultimately erase you. It begins in small ways. They parrot your expressions, present your ideas as their own, and share content online that sounds uncannily like it came from you. While you're still processing this strange form of flattery, they are already moving behind the scenes, planting seeds of doubt about you in others' minds, tarnishing your reputation, your motives, and your good name. They will say things like, "I'm not so sure they are as authentic as they appear," or "They've really let things get to their head lately." They are methodically eroding your support system with people who once championed you. The most diabolical part is that they use the version of you they've copied as the gold standard, presenting themselves as the genuine article while branding you as the fake. This is far more than betrayal. It is soul theft with a dark purpose. You're not just dealing with an insecure person seeking validation. You're facing a vessel for a spirit that covets your light because it possesses no internal source of its own. That kind of spirit copies because it cannot originate. It plunders because it is hollow, and once it grasps that it can't naturally eclipse your brilliance, it shifts its focus to extinguishing your flame through deception. Suddenly, your friends and allies are acting strangely, keeping their distance, and entertaining falsehoods about you. And you are left wondering what happened. The reality is that someone has taken your very essence and turned it into a weapon to use against you. This is spiritual warfare cloaked in false praise. It's not just a difficult person, it's a parasitic entity that constructs its identity from your own radiance and then directs that stolen glow back at you as a weapon. The only path to victory is to stand unshakably in your own identity. Remain anchored in your truth and allow the forgery to expose itself with time. No imitation can survive for long when faced with the real thing. Guard your unique self as if your existence depends on it, because on a spiritual level, it truly does. Their primary tool for keeping you chained to them is guilt, not love, not loyalty. Guilt is the spiritual chain they use to ensure you never truly get away, long after the bond has turned toxic. These individuals are not concerned with whether a connection is healthy, reciprocal, or empowering. Their only concern is that you remain close enough for them to continue drawing from your well of time, energy, and devotion. And the moment they feel you gaining strength, reclaiming your space, or moving on, they don't offer support or self-reflection. They deploy guilt as their weapon of choice. They will list all the times they were there for you, emphasize how desperately they depend on you, or detail how devastated they would be if you were to abandon them. They will hit you with lines like, "You're really just going to walk out on me?" Or, "Is this how you repay me for everything?" They know these phrases target your greatest strength, your capacity for compassion. They transform your kindness into a cage, making you believe that to leave them would be the ultimate act of cruelty. Even when staying means you are being cruel to yourself, you remain paralyzed, not out of love, but out of fear of being labeled uncaring. But let this sink in: a guilt is not an indicator of love. It is a manipulation tactic wielded by those who profit from your quiet suffering and self-negation. A dark entity will never truly say, "Thank you," but it will always ask, "How could you do this to me?" These influences attach themselves to your innate sense of responsibility and exploit it to bleed your spirit dry, bit by bit. They persist until you are utterly spent from trying to mend what was never broken by you. They don't want your healing, they want your compliance. They don't seek partnership, they seek ownership. They are fully aware that as long as they can make you feel bad for departing, you will continue to stay, even as it spiritually suffocates you. But real love does not use guilt trips. Authentic love inspires, lifts, and sets you free. Guilt tethers you to people who resist their own growth and view your personal progress as an attack on their control. It is not your duty to make yourself smaller to help them feel big. It is not your obligation to give up your own peace to uphold a distorted vision of faithfulness. You are not their rescuer, and they are not your burden. This form of emotional coercion is spiritual abuse wearing a mask. The instant you see it for what it is, you are presented with a choice: stay locked in the cage they constructed from your own empathy, or break the chains and take back your soul. You are not obligated to grant lifetime access to anyone who only reappears when they know guilt will make you answer the door. Release the guilt and allow yourself to rise. They provoke a profound and baseless anxiety within you. It's not about their words, it's what your soul detects lurking underneath their performance. You can simply be in the same space as them, and your pulse quickens. A knot forms in your stomach. Your mind becomes a whirlwind of chaotic energy, and you have no logical reason for it, because on the surface, everything seems normal. They are putting on a smile, perhaps sharing a laugh, and acting perfectly friendly, but your spirit is signaling a code red. That feeling isn't irrational fear, it's your spiritual intuition at work. Your body is responding to an unseen presence, a vibration that poisons your tranquility and activates your fight or flight response without any clear trigger. This type of anxiety isn't born from arguments. It's born from a deep energetic incompatibility with a force that is covertly hostile, deceptive, or draining. You might be tempted to dismiss it, fault yourself, or call it being too analytical, but your physical response is more intelligent than your rational mind. It understands when it's facing a spiritual threat long before your brain can process the evidence. These people frequently radiate a heavy, turbulent energy that is expertly hidden by their charm or your history with them. They say everything you want to hear, but their very aura hums with discontent, jealousy, resentment, or a controlling agenda. You sense this even if you can't find the words for it. They might even lead you to question your own value without ever uttering a direct criticism. You walk away from every interaction, questioning your own judgment, replaying your conversations, and feeling as though your inner light has been turned down. That is your proof that they haven't just engaged your mind. They've infected your spirit. Anxiety is very often the first alarm that you are in the company of someone whose energetic signature is toxic to yours. And if you consistently feel diminished, more scattered, or less sure of yourself around them, you are not in a healthy dynamic. You are receiving a spiritual red flag. These are the people who appear harmless, but are carrying unresolved inner demons that are always looking for a way into your own spirit. When you experience this form of anxiety, do not ignore it. Look closer. Who are you with? What changes inside you when they are talking, when they get close to you, or when they just remain in your personal space? Your inner peace is an honest guide, and so is that knot in your stomach. Sometimes, your anxiety isn't a malfunction, it's a direct message from your spirit telling you, this space is not safe. When your spirit alerts you, it is vital that you listen. Guarding your peace isn't an indulgence, it is a fundamental act of survival. Never apologize for extracting yourself from a situation that your soul has already identified as wrong. Even when there's no visible crack in the facade, the invisible world often speaks the loudest. They find joy in your sorrow and feel sorrow at your joy. Your pain validates their position, while your success feels like a personal defeat to them. These are the people who present themselves as your confidants, your allies, your family. But the underlying reality is that they are only at ease when they feel you are positioned beneath them, spiritually, emotionally, or otherwise. When you are in pain, they seem oddly fascinated, unconcerned, or even subtly pleased. They may not burst into laughter, but you'll catch a flicker of contentment in their expression, a fleeting smirk they try to conceal, or a callous dismissal of your struggles, as if your turmoil validates their own standing. They provide no genuine solace, only empty platitudes or biting remarks passed off as keeping it real. But watch what happens when the situation reverses. Let healing flow into your life. Let your inner light begin to blaze again. Let new opportunities arise. All at once, they become withdrawn, quiet, or even openly resentful. They start to pull back their encouragement, minimize your achievements, or somehow reframe your win to be about them. You'll begin to hear comments like, "You're not the same anymore," or "Try not to let all this success change you." Worse, they will attempt to label your happiness as conceit to soothe their own bruised egos. These are not simply envious individuals. They are spiritual opponents hiding in plain sight. Your progress illuminates their own lack of movement. Your brightness makes their own shadows feel exposed. And the issue is not that you are aiming too high. It's that you are finally doing what they lacked the self-belief or work ethic to do themselves. Deep in their core, they don't despise you. They despise what you have become, a symbol of evolution, recovery, and a spirit that refuses to be confined. When you hurt, they don't offer a hand to help you up. They watch you like an audience at a play because your suffering is a form of validation for them. But when you soar, when you glow, when you finally embody your own worth, they feel left behind by the person who once made them feel important. That is not affection. It is a spiritual contract of control. These people were never destined to join you on your journey of becoming. They were only there to see if you would choose to remain small, just to make them feel comfortable. Once you have evolved beyond the role that catered to their sense of self, they don't grieve for you. They grieve for the power they once held over you. Watch closely who celebrates your wins and who suddenly vanishes into the background. Because authentic love does not smirk at your tears or resent your triumphs. It rejoices in your healing and stands proudly beside your magnificence, not in its shadow. Allow anyone who cannot stand the brightness of your glow to remain in the dim corners where they feel most at home. They recoil from anything related to God, absolute truth, or inner light. It's not an outspoken hatred, but an instinctual discomfort. A palpable resistance that seems to fill the air whenever something sacred is mentioned. These are the individuals who seem perfectly normal, but their demeanor shifts the moment you bring up topics of spiritual significance.